Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zack, and today I am driving a 2022 Subaru Crosstrek Hybrid. Up front is a 2.0 liter flat 4, as well as 2 electric motors, and down below is a CVT. Now, I am super excited to be driving this Crosstrek Hybrid because I was unaware of this vehicle's existence. And you might be too if you live anywhere besides New York, New Jersey, and California where this car was sold. It was only sold in 3 states here in the United States in its hybrid form. And so here in Illinois, my home state, I had no idea that these cars even existed past the first generation. So I'm excited to show you all of the weird changes that were made to adapt a hybrid system into the Subaru Crosstrek. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And huge thank you to Napleton Subaru in Schaumburg for allowing me to borrow this Subaru Crosstrek. You can browse their inventory down in the description below, but we'll talk more about them towards the end of the video. But let's get back to that hybrid system. So what is it? Well, the engine is the FB20D E-Boxer, meaning it is their hybrid system. Now, from what I've read, it was co-developed with Toyota, at least in terms of the battery and whatnot. But what's important is that it makes 148 combined horsepower with the 13.2 gallon gas tank and 8.8 kilowatt hour battery. It offers 480 miles of driving, which is fantastic. That's 80 more miles than my naturally aspirated Mazda 3. So in terms of industry standard, it does punch a little bit above. Like I said, it has 2 electric motors. So it does have an electric motor that will drive the wheels, and you can drive it in fully electric mode. However, it also has an electric motor that's in place of the starter motor to help with getting the vehicle going, which is the most strenuous part on a gasoline engine. The EPA estimates about 17 miles of range per charge, and it is a plug-in hybrid, meaning that charge comes from the wall. You would plug it in at night and wake up every morning with 17 free miles of electric driving. While that might not be a showstopper, the biggest number you've ever heard, I do think that it's adequate for what this vehicle was trying to accomplish, and I like that you have that versatility. If you don't plug it in, you don't charge it, that's fine. You just drive it on the gasoline engine. Like I said, paired to it is still a CVT. All Subarus that are automatic have CVTs, so nothing new there, and it performs as the others do. Last but not least, the Crosstrek does retain its all-wheel drive, which is fantastic. How does it feel to drive the Subaru Crosstrek Hybrid? Well, I have a lot of experience driving this generation and just the Crosstrek platform as a whole. It is very odd because around town and at slow speeds, it is fully in electric mode. It's quiet, it's smooth, and switching between the gas engine and electric motors is nearly seamless. And that's always my biggest tell for hybrids. Sometimes the crossover is a little bit obnoxious, and it isn't here in the Crosstrek. So honestly, so far, the only downside is the lack of cargo space that we'll talk about because of the battery and the added 400 pounds for the battery. But really, beyond that, this thing is all green lights, and I love to see that. All right. Not very impressive acceleration, but the standard Crosstrek with the 2-liter, my biggest complaint was always that it didn't have impressive acceleration. So it's still just the same. It's the same. It's not different. It's the same. And that's actually good to see. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior because we do have some hybrid-specific features in here. Well, in front of me, I have physical gauges. Off to the left, this is our hybrid charge and eco gauge. So we don't get a tachometer anymore. We get the charge and eco gauge for the plug-in hybrid with the specific plug-in hybrid text on it. Off to the right, we get our typical speedometer, and in the center, we do get our information screen, which now is giving me battery mileage as well as fuel mileage. On the steering wheel, on the left, we do have our selectors, volume, source, and info, along with our information select. And off to the right, we do have our adaptive cruise control, our drive modes, and a heated steering wheel. Something interesting about this is that here in the United States of America, the only way to get a heated steering wheel was to get the Crosstrek Hybrid. Now, in Canada, they offered it on a couple different trim levels because it's a typically colder country, but here in the United States, and especially in California, New York, and New Jersey, the only way to get a heated steering wheel in a Crosstrek in 2022 in the United States was to get the hybrid. Very, very interesting. Off to the left, we do have a climate vent, SRH off, our charge timer, gas cap release, gauge dimmer switch, traction control off, blind spot monitoring off, and hill start off, as well as these blue accents. Again, for the hybrid, you get these blue accents that then go onto the door with the latch get in and out, power mirrors, power locks, and power windows. Moving into the center, we get another information screen. I love this. This is found in tons of other Subaru products, and I love to see it making its return here for the Subaru Crosstrek Hybrid. I'll cycle through a bunch of different things that you can see here. I've always loved this. I think it gives really good info. And again, I'm just, happy to see it. And yes, this charge gauge is specific to the hybrid. Down below, we have our infotainment system. Nothing really too new or crazy to talk about here. We have the volume and tune knobs. I do like the physical radio controls where they're moving away from that in the new Crosstrek, and physical climate controls. No dual zone here, but we do have auto, on-off, fan speed, things like that. And a cubby down below with the USB-A aux input and 12-volt outlet. Moving into the center, we do get our shifter. Again, nice blue stitching to signify that it is a hybrid model. And then we have some interesting buttons. So, of course, heated seats and the power parking brake. That's not new. Although the power parking brake actually is, but it's not that crazy.
I didn't realize until I was editing, but the other 2022 Crosstrek that I reviewed had a physical parking brake. So I don't know if the power parking brake is hybrid specific, but it's definitely something that I noticed was different.
But off to the left, we have X mode. Cool. But then we have our save, hold, charge. So this will force just the gasoline engine to work. So you can save that battery power if you want. If you know that you have a drive home late at night, you don't want to wake the neighbors, not that a Crosstrek would, but you know what I mean. You could actually tell it to hold on to the charge for maybe a different time, which is very, very neat to see. Then we do have cup holders, so we'll do a big friggin' bottle test here in the Crosstrek Hybrid, and just like its non-hybrid brethren, it fails the big friggin' bottle test. Then we do get a center console, 2 USBs, as well as a 12-volt outlet found in there, so plenty of charging here in the Crosstrek. And we'll talk about the seats. The seats have the blue stitching, so they are hybrid specific. Again, a lot of changes here for the Crosstrek Hybrid. They didn't just slap it into the existing vehicle, and the seats are showing of that. They are comfortable, they are heated, and I am enjoying them. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats and a trunk, so let's go do some back seat reviews. All right, so we're in the back of the Subaru Crosstrek Hybrid. Cut that out. And a couple of things to note. First of all, the blue seats and blue stitching carries on back here. They cared. They made it special in the back seat. A lot of manufacturers forget about the back seat, but no, this still has the blue stitching, which is fantastic. Power windows. I have lights, which I might need today. It's a little bit rainy here today, but nothing really to note. I fit fine back here. My knees are fine. My headroom is fine. Nothing too crazy. It's good. It still operates as a back seat, which is nice to see. Let's hop into the very back, though, because there are some changes that you might not like in the back of the Subaru Crosstrek Hybrid. Really channeling the Pacific Northwest today with a rainy fall day here. But we are around the back of the Subaru Crosstrek Hybrid, and as you can see, this is where the trouble starts a little bit, because we have this raised load floor in the back, and you get this tiny little compartment, but that's it. This is where the battery lives for the plug-in hybrid system. So, unfortunately, it does take up quite a bit of cargo space. So, if cargo is the absolute necessity for you, you might want to avoid the hybrid. However, it's not that terrible. You do get like a medical pack and things like that, but it is, that's several inches. However, my question that I actually don't know the answer to, oh, okay, so when you fold them flat, you just have this giant sort of, tech deck kickflip ramp. So you can still fold these down for storage as well, but you do lose out on quite a bit of cargo capacity in the back of the hybrid. So that is one big downside. However, me personally, I don't think that this is an absolute game changer, but to some it might be. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and this is finished in Lagoon Blue, which was only available on the Crosstrek Hybrid. So if you're trying to figure out if a Crosstrek in traffic is a hybrid or not, and you can't see the badges or charge door, well, if it's this color, then it's a hybrid or a respray. I adore this color. I also adore the way that the Crosstrek looks, and I think it's kind of cool. On the passenger side is the fuel door, on the driver's side is the charge door. So love seeing that, and that of course is all new for the hybrid, or bespoke for the hybrid, I should say, because no other Crosstrek has needed a charge door. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving a Subaru Crosstrek hybrid? Well, this is really, really cool. First of all, one of my favorite things to do in the whole wide world, but especially on the channel, is to drive cars that weren't available in my home market. I'm born and raised here in Illinois, so we've never got these Crosstrek hybrids. So when Subaru of Schaumburg said, hey, we have one, I said, wait, really? And I knew I had to drive it. The other big thing, the other big takeaway for me from this is the fact that you don't really lose that much by getting the plug-in hybrid. Sure, you do get less cargo space in the rear and no spare tire, and that might be a game changer for some people. But you don't lose out on performance, and you actually now gain 17 miles of electric driving. If your commute is under 17 miles a day, you could essentially treat this as an EV with a range extender. However, you'll never get stranded if you go out on a trail or through a creek or do any of the adventurous things that Crosstreks are known for doing. Exhibit A. You could still do this. It's going to be a touch heavier, but at only 400 pounds, that's just like me and my lunch sitting in the back seat. Not that crazy. Then the question is raised, well, why were these only sold in 3 states? Why didn't we get them here in Illinois or Missouri or Minnesota or Pennsylvania? Well, I actually talked to a Toyota executive about this because they have the Mirai vehicle, which is a hydrogen vehicle. And I always asked, I was like, why don't you sell that nationwide? Well, he said that A, charging infrastructure isn't the same across the country. Here in Illinois, it is kind of hard to find a public charger, where in New York or California, it's relatively easy. The other reason is that those states have incentives, and they actually have a requirement for a certain number of EVs or alternative fuel vehicles to be sold from a manufacturer. So Subaru in California, I'm making up these numbers, but let's say 10% of what they sell have to be hybrid or battery electric vehicles. Again, not a real number, just using it as an example. Well, then they're going to develop a car like this to sell in California to reach that mandated number. Here in Illinois, we don't have any requirements for any manufacturers to sell battery electric vehicles or hybrids or anything like that. So if they're going to make a small batch of vehicles, they're going to send them and sell them in those said markets. How did it get out here to Illinois? Auction. It was sold at an auction. Someone had driven it, loved it for nearly 15,000 miles, got rid of it, it went to an auction house, and Napleton Subaru and Schaumburg purchased it for their lot. And they're also able to certify this vehicle, so it is a certified used vehicle, not just a pre-owned vehicle, which is certainly nice to see. I hope you guys enjoyed this walkthrough of this weird version of the Subaru Crosstrek with the hybrid. Huge thank you to Napleton Subaru in Schaumburg for allowing me to borrow their Crosstrek hybrid. Please go check them out. They always have cool and interesting vehicles in their inventory. They're absolutely awesome, and if you're looking for a new Subaru here in Northern Illinois, please check out Napleton Subaru in Schaumburg. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.